Hey, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in to the Bases Loaded podcast. Hopefully, you're enjoying your night. I know there's a few baseball games going on. There you got football going on. I'm all over the place with sports right now. Football going on, but while the game's going on, we're going to talk about some of these MLB teams as we're winding down. We're in September, getting towards mid-September, which then means you're only a couple of weeks away from October, which, once you get to the playoffs, like, names are made in the playoffs. Whether you're a rookie that can have a really crazy playoff run, you're a grizzled vet, got teams with all the pressure that comes with the final month of the regular season as well as the playoffs. So it's definitely an interesting time around baseball. So we'll touch on some of that, touch on some of these games that are going on live right now. But before we even do all that, we got Trajan here, Wisconsin Sports on the Go. How you doing tonight?
Well, we're doing good. We're doing good. I mean, the Bills are kicking the crap out of the Dolphins right now, so that's helping my pick'em league. I got the Bills. I favored them. I got them by 4. I think I had them with a 4 in that one with my confidence. So solid for me. Solid for me there. I got the stash going on, the Gorman Thomas stash. I'm trying to conjure my Brewers up. I'm trying to get them a little bit of an edge heading into the playoffs. I was like, got to channel 1982. Got to channel when the Brewers made it to the World Series last. It's got to happen. So I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it until they prove me wrong, which I know my Brewers could potentially happen wild card weekend. Hopefully we're not in a wild card, but could potentially happen wild card weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I'm probably a week away from going full rally cap for the Red Sox because they're hanging on by a thread with any hopes of making a wild card spot. They have this weekend series against the Yankees, the old dreaded, hated Yankees. I would love nothing more than a sweep in the Bronx this weekend for the Red Sox to kind of maybe get back into it, get a little bit closer, and see what they can do the final couple of weeks here. But like I said, hold on by a thread. But I mean, look, I guess we can kind of start there with these playoff races, like I was mentioning in the opening, because you talk about your Brewers as well. Looking at, I guess we can look at the National League here a little bit. I think something that's different since the last time we last came on here was that the Mets are now a wild card team, and the Braves are on the outside looking in, trying to get back into it. So looking at those two teams, like, what do you think is going on with them? We know the Braves have dealt with injuries all season. The pitching's been there, but they've had some injuries to the pitching staff. The Mets were, infuriating early on. They've slowly made their way back into it. A lot of this coincides with Francisco Lindor actually playing early in the year. Like, he was terrible. A lot of people were questioning about, what's going on with him. Like, is he not the same player? Well, last month or so, that guy's been pretty locked in. So how are you looking at those teams? Like, what do you feel about them going down the stretch run here? What do you think happens between the two of them?
I would, honestly, right now, you can't even say schedule has really affected both teams differently because the Braves just came off a series with the Nationals. They had a game in there with the Reds. They had Toronto and Colorado. And then you look over at the Mets schedule. They just got done with Toronto. They had the Reds. They did play those Red Sox up there, played an impressive series against the Red Sox, and played the White Sox before that. So they've had a little bit easier of a stretch, you could say, in there, but both teams have. So where's your difference coming in? These Mets bats have been heating up. I mean, looking at their run totals over the last, they went on, what the heck is that? I mean, this win streak that they had here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 9-game win streak there for the Mets. You want to know
Yeah.
how you clean up a division or catch up in the wild card race and get ahead of teams? That's how you do it right there. Getting hot at the right time. We talk about it all the time. Who's hot heading
Yep.
into September? Who can get hot going into October? The Mets are heating up right now. That's dangerous. I've always said if the Mets could finally put it together, like
Mhm.
somehow, some way, find a way to get hot, because it seems like they get hot to start the year and then they fizzle off. Well, this season it was the opposite. They sucked. Then they heated up a little bit. They sucked again. Now they're heating up again. That's a
Mhm.
trend team that is dangerous going down the stretch. Right now, the Mets are playing like a dangerous team you don't want to face in a wild card game. I know right now my Brewers, I believe the Mets got the last wild card, you said, right? They're in that last
Yep.
wild card spot. So the Brewers, if they stay in that three, would end up with the Mets in a wild card series. I don't like that series just because the Mets are playing great baseball right now. And looking at the flip side of it, again, or for the Braves, I mean, the offense has kind of fizzled out on them. And we saw this as a possibility because when you lose stars like Acuna and you lost Austin Riley and Matt Olson is hitting bombs, I'm not going to say Matt Olson isn't hitting bombs, but I don't think Matt
Mhm.
Olson is playing his best season. He's still hitting bombs, but he's not playing his best season. And
Yeah.
Ozzy Albies has been tinkered up a little bit. Orlando Arcia, he is not hitting nearly what he did last season. And they're trying to rely on guys like Michael Harris and guys like that.
Mhm.
Sean Murphy, I'll be honest with you, Brave fans out there, I'll be honest with you right now. You guys lost the trade between William Contreras and Sean Murphy. Can you imagine right now if they never made that deal? Never made that deal. And I don't want to imagine as a Brewer fan because I have William Contreras now. But can
Mhm.
you imagine if they didn't make that deal? William Contreras in that lineup with, let's just say, fully healthy. Just imagine fully healthy for a second. Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, William Contreras. Those five guys right there. Like, that is a lineup that you could say, that's going to give the Dodgers a run for their money. Like, that is a tough team right there to try and beat offensively. They went
Mhm.
with Murphy. That's okay with me. I got Contreras, but it's one of those things where now it's like they're lacking the offense. I don't think that Sean Murphy brought more offense to the Braves than what William Contreras would have. Now you're talking in hindsight, right? They didn't know what William Contreras was fully going to be until he got up to Milwaukee and he's showing it off now. But it comes along with the trade. Jorge Soler. Soler hasn't been good for him. I mean, it's those little things. Didn't they get Whit Merrifield too? Isn't Merrifield down there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they made moves, but look at the moves you made. Like, you were hoping to get the band back together, and you guys were just going to make this miraculous run. And it's just like I talk about with my Brewers. We throw it into we throw a name into a hat. We're just picking a name out of a hat. We're like, we're going to trade for this guy. We're going to trade for this
Mhm.
guy. It doesn't make sense at the time. The Brewers find a way. I don't know how they do it. I get irritated with them, but they get these pitchers and they find ways to make them good again. I have no idea how they do it. The Braves reached into that hat. They picked out Jorge Soler. They got Whit Merrifield, and I don't think it's been beneficial to them. I don't think it's brought the offensive production that they needed, and that's showing me right now. That's I mean, telltale sign right now is seeing the Braves fall behind the Mets in that wild card race. I don't think they have enough horses in that lineup to keep pace with the Mets. I don't, and even if they got into a playoff series, the pitching staff might be able to handle themselves, but I don't think the lineup can. This isn't a lineup right now that scares you, right? It's not one of those lineups anymore. They don't have the big bat of Acuna. They don't have the big bat of. Is Austin Riley back yet? I'm not sure if Austin Riley is back yet.
Oh, that's a good question. I want to say he's not, but let me
He is
find out.
not.
Let me
I
double
mean,
check.
you're banking on. Okay, here's your infield: Kevin Biggio, who has been on four teams this season. You have Gio
Yeah.
Urshela, who hasn't stuck anywhere. You have Matt Olson, who has played well this year. I'm
Mhm.
saying, I'm not knocking Matt Olson completely. He has played
Yep.
good. It just hasn't been up to what Matt Olson from hitting 50 plus bombs. And then Orlando Arcia has not played up to what he had been in the past. And then you look at that outfield. I mean, Roman Laureano. I I have enough said with that guy. I mean, he's bounced around a lot too. Jared Kalenic, I think his best days are behind him yet. Cool part is he's from Wisconsin. He's from Waukesha. Interesting fact there.
Mhm.
Michael Harris, he's not an offensive threat. He's a defensive guy. You're not going to get the big bat. He's in the leadoff spot. When Michael Harris is in the leadoff spot, your offense is not ready to go. That's all I have to say on that one. Adam Duvall, past the prime. Jorge Soler, past the prime. Whit Merrifield, past the prime. It's just, I'm looking at this lineup, and I'm telling you right now, currently, they do not have enough horses to put runs across the board to try and beat teams if the pitching staff cannot throw shutouts. If they can't throw shutouts, the Braves are screwed. And that's what we're seeing right now. They just aren't able to put runs across the board.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. You know, the guys that are missing are being felt at this point. Look, they hung in the race for so long, and they're actually, I mean, they're still 12 games over 500, which is kind of crazy to think about when you think of the names that they've lost and when they've lost them, how long they've been without them. Yeah, but you know, this stretch run is going to be, the pitching staff has to be pretty much flawless, and that's a lot to ask after 140 something games. That, like, the margin of error for them right now is razor thin, unless they like hunker down and for like a 2-week stretch just go crazy at the plate. But looking at those names, like, who would you expect it from? Like, yeah, Olson is probably the best guy in the lineup right now, but he needs protection, and you don't have that. And even that's what Olson, in a down year, he's the only guy you look at that lineup and you're just like, I guess I'd have to be a little careful pitching to him. Everybody else, you're just like, if I make a mistake, they probably wouldn't take advantage of it. And I feel like they're really falling victim to that now. But then again, they're only a game out behind the Mets. And yes, the Mets are playing well now. Who's to say the Mets don't fall apart? Because we've seen the Mets fall apart at the end of seasons before as well. So they're not exactly exempt from that happening. But it'll be interesting to see. You know, it's for the Braves being on the outside looking in finally after all this time. We'll see what kind of team they are. Like, do they just throw their hands up, accept their fate, and fall further behind? Do they fight back, get back into the wild card? And yeah, they may be counted out in the first round in a wild card type of series, but I keep pointing to this. Last season, you had your Diamondbacks and Rangers as wild card teams make it to a World Series. Baseball is one of those sports. If you get in, you legitimately have a shot to make it to a World Series trip, because so many weird things happen in October baseball. It's almost like the NHL. You can have a hot goalie that you can just ride on out to a Stanley Cup. You have a great pitching staff, you can win in the postseason. And the Braves pitching staff has been pretty good for the most part. It's just that they need those bats to help them out. So I think it'll be interesting to watch them as we progress here, like how well they can do. I guess looking at the other teams in the wild card, because the NL West race is interesting. I feel like at this point you kind of give it to the Dodgers to win the division. But this race between the Diamondbacks and the Padres for the first wild card spot, like that's an interesting race to look at. I mean, we'll probably end up with those two just playing each other in the playoffs. But at that point, you're now fighting to see who would get home field between the two of them. So, like, looking at those two teams, is one of them more surprising that they're in this position? I mean, yes, the Diamondbacks were, like I said, World Series team last year, and have come back and have played well. The Padres were a bit of a mess before this season, and seemingly have figured it out. So looking at those two teams, like, how do you compare them or separate them as to which one's actually the better team?
I would say the one that's more surprising to me would be the Diamondbacks, because the way that they started out this season, Corbin Carroll looked like he was, I mean, nothing. I mean, the guy we saw last season helped them get to that World Series. The guy we saw this year was not even in the same category, like not even close. And to see the turnaround that he had, that this team had along the way, they still had the decent pitch. I mean, Zach Gallen's still in there, Merrill Kelly's. I mean, they still have a decent pitching staff. They were going to find it. I can't even remember that one guy's name from their pitch, Fat or something like that. He completely wrecked the Brewers. I had no idea who he was heading into the wild card game, and then all of a sudden the Brewers can't hit, and it's like, oh yeah, this guy, he's an ace. I forgot. Like, come on. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But honestly, I'm looking at the schedule right now for the Padres. They have the Giants coming up next, and then they're going to play the Astros, who, I mean, they're fighting for position in the playoffs yet. They have the White Sox, but then they have the Dodgers yet, and then the Diamondbacks to end the season there. So that's a tough stretch of games. And then you look at the Diamondbacks schedule, and I know they have my Brewers. They have them 7 times yet. They play the Brewers 7 times in the upcoming 2-week stretch here.
Mhm.
They have the Rockies in there. They have the Giants. I really think, because I would hope. Sorry about that. There's a whistle going on outside. I don't know if there's a fire or a tornado. The sky's clear. I don't know with Wisconsin anymore if we're having a tornado anymore, but there's a whistle going on outside. But if you can hear it, I don't know if anybody can hear it outside.
Okay.
Just making sure if somebody heard it, that's what's going on. No, but
Yeah, you good.
the Brewers are fighting for a playoff spot. They're fighting for the 2 seed in the playoffs yet, so they're going to be giving it everything they got in those 7 games. The Dodgers still trying to maintain the top of that NL West. They're going to be fighting. I really do think that last series between the San Diego Padres and the Arizona Diamondbacks could mean a heck of a lot when it comes to, like you said, home field advantage in that wild card game. I'm hoping it comes down to that last series. You want some spice. You want that last series of the season at times to mean something, especially when it's not for your team. Your team, you want to be in there already. You don't want to have to deal with that last series. But I really do hope it comes down to that last series there, because I'd love to see what they throw out there. I mean, can you imagine if they do end up as the 4 and 5? They got to play each other. They're going to play each other at the end of the season. And then isn't it like do you have a day or two and then it just immediately flips around? It's wild card time? Like, what is the schedule like for the playoffs?
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty short after, but let me see. Let's see.
October 1st.
So season ends like the 29th.
Is there 31 days in September?
No, it's 30.
So 2 days. So you would play
Yeah.
you'd play each other, and then you'd have 2 days to flip around. Is that the NL Wild? They haven't even announced which wild card teams are playing when, I don't think. Oh, maybe they have. Hold on. Maybe they have. They always confuse me. NL Wild Card 3. Where the heck? Now I lost it. Oh, right there. There it is. NL Wild Card Game 1. So it's going to be on that first. Either way, it's on the first. Regardless. So you'd have 2-day stretch, and then you're squaring off against each other again. And maybe that was for the 4 and a 5. So you're throwing everything you got, pitcher-wise. You can't rest anybody. So then it's going to be interesting come that, series. If a guy's on short rest, are you going to throw him? Where is it going to fit into your rotation then? How are you going to play that series? And then you got to get into that divisional round then, where you're going to have to figure out your rotation again. I mean, it's just all these different variables for them that they're going to have to figure out. It's going to be an interesting stretch there for the Padres and the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, and look, that's even something you have to factor in at the end of the regular season here. Because let's say Phillies and Dodgers fighting for 1 and 2 seeds, where you get basically a bye the opening round. So does it matter if you are the number 1 as opposed to number 2 and you just take your chances? But obviously that would factor in if you both get to the NLCS, then you'd want home field in that part. Looking at the Brewers, if the Brewers have an opportunity to push for the 2 seed, I mean, you're 4 or 3.5 back right now. Do you just kind of concede and set your rotations up as the 3 seed and just take on whoever is the last wildcard team, but make sure your rotation set up perfectly? Certain guys are ready to go. Those are decisions that managers will have to make. Diamondbacks, Padres, same thing. Doesn't matter if you have home field for the wild card round, or if you go on the road and play. Does that matter? But you set up your rotations. That's the chess match when it comes to the end of September. Because look, if you see yourself as a championship type of team, you have to be able to win on the road anyway. So maybe you take your chances, you rest everybody, and you just play ball whenever it's your time to play game 1. road, home, you go out there with your best team as rested as they can be and take your shot. I mean, look,
Yeah,
like you as a Brewers fan, like how would you want the Brewers to attack the rest of the season? Fight for the 2 seed or stay at the 3 and just be the best you can be when the playoffs start?
well, I'm fighting for the 2 seed, to be honest with you. I'm not
Okay.
resting anybody. Like, I've seen the Brewers rest guys. They go into the playoffs, they're cold. Right now, the Brewers' offense is cold, so I'm not resting a single guy, unless if that's what they need is rest to get, refreshed and ready to rock. But they've done it before where they rest guys for a week. It just doesn't work. It really does not work. It's so hard to just get out of rhythm for a week and then just get tossed back out there in the playoffs. That's why sometimes getting the bye is actually a crap show. It actually hurts you more than anything getting that bye. A team like the Brewers, you almost, as cold as they've been, I'd almost want them to play through that wild card round just to see if the bats can get back going. But at the same time, it's like I want to make it to the divisional round, so getting a bye might not be so bad. Going into the last series, the Brewers have the Mets. That's the last series of the season for the Brewers. I mean, if you go into that series and you're 2.5 games back and this is going to play a factor into what, like, say the Dodgers do or the Phillies do, because maybe one of them is right above the Brewers. They're 2 games up. Well, if the Brewers are starting Freddie Peralta, the Phillies or Dodgers are sitting there saying, well, they're not conceding. They want this 2 seed. We got to play out our schedule too because we can't afford to drop these. So there's ways to play it that way too. You're not helping out these other teams. I don't think, to be honest with you, these guys, these players, these managers, organizations, they've seen what happens when you try and rest pitchers heading into the playoffs, not give them those consistent, 5 days, you want them out there. You have them sit for that week that they're going to be off waiting for the divisional round. You just play it out. I'm thinking, even if I was a Phillies fan or a Dodger fan, unless I'm up by 13 games and I don't want to, maybe you don't run your starter 7 innings. You put them out there for 4 and then you pull them, or you put them out there for 5 and pull them. But I'm still giving my regular rotation, regular starts. I don't want them getting uncomfortable or going into a playoff game where they haven't pitched in 2 weeks against live comp. Because there's a difference. You can go simulation batters versus a game batter. It's different. It's different. Yeah. It's like, we've had this talk about the NFL with joint practices versus gameplay versus preseason games, where it's like you can go in joint practice all you want. You can go in simulations all you want. It sometimes does not translate to a real game, to seeing real batters, to seeing real competition out there. And that's where I don't, even as a Brewer fan, I would not want to see them rest guys down the stretch, even if they were conceding, even if they were, somehow they miraculously go on this stretch here where they just rattle off 12 wins in a row and all of a sudden they're ahead of the Dodgers by 4 games. I still want to see my starters. I still want to see my position players. Maybe you mix and match guys throughout a game, but you're still giving at bats and you're still getting your guys in there. You're still using your closer. You're not giving it, because closers, they're meant to go every day. Almost every day, as long as it is an extended outing. You want to have your closer available to you every day. You don't want him going into the playoffs and all of a sudden it's like, well, he hasn't pitched in a while, so we can use him tonight, but we can't use him tomorrow. Well, you can't have that. You need your stars to be ready to go when it comes playoff time. If I'm a Brewer fan right now, even if one way or another, I'm playing my starters out the whole way through.
Yeah, and like the kind of the scenario you put out there, if they get to the final series, the weekend slate, they're 2 back, 3 to play. You go into game 1, you win it. Let's say you're eliminated after game 1 from moving up to the 2 seed. You're the 3 seed. You now have 2 games at the end of the regular season that ultimately don't matter. So you can tinker with stuff there, like, okay, I want this guy to be the game 2 starter. So if I want to throw him out here for just a couple of innings just to keep his arm warm, then I can do that and then pull him and bring in a bullpen and just go bullpen for a couple of games like that. Yeah, why not? Like, you don't want to let the players know that you're taking your foot off the gas, because that, like you said, they might get into bad habits. They, can fall into a slump that they can't get out of, and now you're in trouble come the playoffs. So I do think it is very interesting. I mean, looking at the Dodgers, who are the 2 seed in the National League right now, only a game behind the Phillies. A lot of the talk is about Shohei and the 50-50 watch that he's currently. What is he at now? Was he like 40? Is he at like 47 home runs?
Let me see.
I was trying to get his real number here. Where is it? All right. Yeah, 47 home runs, 104 RBIs, and how many steals?
48.
48. I mean, I'm still fascinated with kind of the size that he is, that he's doing this. Like, if you think 50 stolen bases, you usually think of like small, speedy guy and all that. Because I said this like a couple of weeks ago. Shohei stolen bases, you don't really think about that. You think about what he does on the mound, although he hasn't done that this year. So I think there's more focus on the stolen base aspect, obviously going 50-50, and the home run ball. Like, we know that about him. But seeing him almost have 50 stolen bases, like, is there any question that he's the best player in baseball right now?
We had this talk.
I know, but I mean, there's in a couple of weeks, and what he's doing, and then you have the fans up in New York are fascinated with the Aaron Judge stuff, even though I think he's gone like 15 or so games without a home run, so that's kind of quieted down a little bit. But do you take the guy who, Aaron Judge hits for a decent average with the home run hitting, outfield play. Shohei, what he can do at the plate on the base pass. And I guess even if you take away what he does on the mound, like, is he the undisputed best player in the league right now?
I wouldn't say undisputed. I
Okay.
wouldn't. I think you can make the argument for Aaron Judge. He's got that 320 average. He's got the 51 home runs. The only thing that you can say that you could separate the two, I guess, would be the stolen base factor. I think Aaron Judge could steal a couple more bases. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I think he could steal. He has 8 steals. I think he could steal a few more bases if he wanted to. I just don't think that's the Yankees game. So that's not what he does. I mean, you look at the Yankees as a whole. They don't steal bases. That's not their thing. I don't know why they don't want speed on the base paths or anything like that, but that's just not the way they operate. So right now, just because Shohei Ohtani doesn't have that pitching factor to him, so now you're putting batting stats to batting stats. And if you throw batting stat to batting stat with them, I mean, 292 average for Shohei, 320 for Aaron Judge. 51 home runs for Aaron Judge, 47 for Shohei. RBIs, 104 for Shohei, 126 for Aaron Judge. On base percentage, Shohei Ohtani doesn't even lead his team in on base percentage because he does have Freddie Freeman on there. So that, I mean, it's Freddie. It's
Freddie Freeman, yeah.
I mean, so he leads them, but Aaron Judge skyrockets ahead of Freddie Freeman in on base percentage at 454. And then you look hits to hits. I mean, 166 for Shohei and 164 for Aaron Judge. So it's like you're making the Michael Jordan to LeBron James like comparison right now. There are so many good things that you can say about one guy. There's so many good things you can say about another guy. To me, Michael Jordan's better than LeBron. I'll tell everybody that. You can throw the stats at me all you want. Good for you. I mean, 6 for 6, baby. That's all I got to say. 6 for 6. You get there, you win.
Exactly.
That tells you greatness. That is greatness right there. I love the stats that I see all the time that they're like, what did he do without Pippen? It's like, what did LeBron do without anybody? Like, did he win the finals? No. Like, come on now. Like, what? Like, it's
you are preaching to the choir at this point. Wow. I've had all these arguments with the same. Yes.
Agree. I mean, 100%. It just baffles me sometimes. It does. But I mean, you look, okay, Aaron Judge on this Yankees team right now. What's going to hold Aaron Judge back from getting to, let's just say, a World Series? Everybody else on his team. Everybody else outside of Juan Soto. Like, I mean, Anthony Volpe's been playing. He's had a pretty good season. Anthony Volpe has. Outside of that, the rest of this lineup is like, come on. Like, no. But you look at the Dodgers, and it's like, okay, Shohei Ohtani's so much more magnified out there because guess what? He's got a lineup where it's like, boom, 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 I could go down this lineup. I'm like, I don't want to pitch to most of these guys there.
Mhm.
So, I mean, best in baseball right now, you could toss it up. You could toss it up between them. And then it's like, okay, I don't want to shoot shade at anybody right now, but there's a couple of other guys you could even throw into the conversation if you really wanted to throw a guy into a conversation, like a guy like Bobby Witt. I mean, yes, nobody
Yeah.
wants to mention him in that same conversation, but the Royals are relevant. And why are they relevant? Because Bobby frickin' Witt, sorry, family friendly here. Bobby Witt he's hitting 333 on the season. He's got 30 bombs. He's got 195 hits. Like, are you serious right now? So, yes, if you want to, I don't think you can talk best in baseball with anybody. I really don't, because one person is like, oh, yeah, Shohei Ohtani, ooh. And then the next guy's like, well, Aaron Judge hits home runs. And then the next guy could just come up and say, Bobby Witt, 333 average. Dude does it all. And guess what? Watch him play defense sometime, because
Yes.
try to get it past him. Try to get it past him at the shortstop reasonably. Like, there is no way. He is just that. He is an all-around great baseball player. So if you ask me right now, like, Trajan, who do you want if you were gonna pick a guy to be that guy in your start of your franchise right now, and I couldn't pick one of my Brewers because I love the Brewers, so I'd have to pick a Brewer. Who would you pick? That's tough. I mean, how can you not even think Bobby Witt in that same? I mean, yes, I know Shohei brings the bombs and Aaron Judge brings. Bobby Witt's hit 30 home runs. He's not even a home run hitter, and he hit 30 home runs. He has 11 triples and 42 doubles on the season. I don't know how you couldn't even put it. Anybody out there who would say Bobby Witt, you could start an organization with him and be just as good off right now as Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani, I would not be able to sit there and tell you you're a complete idiot. I wouldn't be able to say something like that. I wouldn't, because you would have the backing of what this guy has done all season long, plus the defensive stats, everything put together. There's no right answer. I'm going to tell you that now. There is no right answer to the best player in baseball right now. I couldn't give it to you. I couldn't, because I could look through these guys' stats all day long, and it'd be like you'd be picking hairs at that point. Like, it's so tough to say that one of these guys is undoubtedly better than the next guy.
No, I think that's well said, because I think any normal year we would be talking so much more about Bobby Witt.
Yes,
he just happened to be doing this a year when Aaron Judge could once again hit 60 home runs. A year where Shohei's going for all of this. And I know you get your NL MVP and your AL MVP, but most years Bobby Witt would have been the talk of the league, especially being in Kansas City and what Royals team, Royals fans, what they've been going through since their World Series year. It's not an organization that usually spends a lot of money, usually has a lot of talent, or is usually competitive. And they have 80 wins right now. They could be a 90-win team. And yes, they have Salvador Perez. They have some other guys on that team, but it begins and ends with Bobby Witt. And last night they played the Yankees. The Yankees walked it off on a play where Bobby Witt made a great play at short, dove to his right, had it. They were playing in a little bit. The guy on third headed to the plate. Bobby Witt basically had to pop up on his knee for half a second, try to get enough on the throw to get it to the plate. He was just a little offline, and that's how the Yankees walked it off. But Witt still made a great play. And the fact that the throw was offline actually surprised me. And that's the kind of defender Bobby Witt is. And I'm happy for him, because I do think this is going to be kind of a launching pad for him. The next couple of years, people are going to be like, this Bobby Witt guy is pretty good. Now, the one thing I hope is people aren't going to start trying to drive him out of Kansas City. I hate when
that was going to be my question.
I hate when analysts try to do that, because they'll be like, oh, Bobby Witt would do so much better on the New York stage or the LA stage. Look, we need to stop doing that. Let him be in Kansas City, root for the Royals to be relevant more than a year at a time, every like 15 years. Why not? I'm here for it. Look, because I say it all the time, Kauffman Stadium is one of the best stadiums in the
Oh, it's
league.
beautiful.
And
It is just
for me, it's like
beautiful.
simple, like with the waterfall and everything. It's a great stadium.
Yes.
And I would love to see it be a place where every October you're expecting them to have playoff games. Because I think that's going to be an electric environment. So yeah, I agree with you. It's a
If you
tough
put
thing
him,
to think of. Mhm.
if you put him on LA or New York, say he's a Yankee, say he's a Met, say he's a Dodger,
Yeah.
would you think that he gets a lot more publicity than he does now? Would you say that he's in the same conversation then just because of a location change? Because Kansas City isn't as talked about. I mean, we look at Stephen Kwan. Look at Stephen Kwan with the Guardians, what he was doing at one point this year. Like he played for the Guardians.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking about him. I mean, would you say that if you put him in a bigger market, now this is saying that he does the same thing that he's doing now
Right.
in that bigger
Right.
market, but if he's doing this and he's playing for the Yankees, I mean, I hate the guy, but would you say he'd get more publicity, more talk in that same conversation as like a guy like Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani?
I unfortunately think he would, and that speaks to a lot of my issues I have with baseball in terms of growing their own game. They rely on the major markets to carry the sport. So, because the Yankees are doing well this year, they count that as a win, obviously. They would love the Red Sox to be in it and all that. I feel like they should be focusing on teams like the Orioles, built around young talent, the Royals, built around a guy like Bobby Witt, young talent, the Guardians, kind of a lot of guys you don't know a lot about, but collectively, they're having a great season. Yeah, we know Jose Ramirez, but like I said, Stephen Kwan for a lot of the season was hitting like 340 something. This day and age, that should have been getting much more publicity. This is the age of 200 strikeouts, 40 home runs, and you're considered a great player. If you can actually hit for average, that means you are a very good hitter. You're probably setting the table for better guys behind you, scoring a lot of runs, doing all these things. Like that's why guy with more triples, and he hustles on every time his bat hits the ball. He's coming out of the gate 100 miles an hour. The amount of times this year I've seen that guy, slow dribbler through the infield, get out to the right fielder, and he's hustling to second base. You don't see that a lot today. And unfortunately, if the Red Sox don't make the playoffs, Jarren Duran probably whatever. But Bobby Witt is a very look. I saw him against the Red Sox in a series, and that guy, you couldn't throw any pitch in the field. Like he is one of the toughest outs in this league. And I hope Kansas City does all of the game. Yankees will probably him possibly being a free agent, and it's going to happen. Yankees need a shortstop. Bobby Witt's there. Why wouldn't they get him? And they'll be like, if you're the Royals, why wouldn't you take all these prospects and everything like? Unfortunately, he would be a bigger deal in New York or LA.
I agree. I agree with you there.
I thought you were frozen there for a second.
It's all kinds of funky right now.
Yeah.
You're like buffering on me right
Well,
now.
I mean,
Where like,
I guess looking
at
at, because we did talk about the National League, let's look at the American League. The race in the. Oh, I am? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't
I
know
mean,
if
am
you
I
can
good now?
hear me at this point. Can you hear me again?
No, I can hear you.
Oh, it is way delayed. It's very
I don't know. Am I
delayed right
buffering?
now.
Hold on. Hold on. Okay, let me try something. Let's see. Yeah, it might be mine.
Is it better?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to take away the screen share because that might be messing with my. All right, maybe getting rid of that helps it.
Does it sound better now? Can you hear me right away?
Yeah. Am
Yeah,
I
there
still
we go.
delayed?
No, you're not delayed now. I think
Yeah,
we got it. I think it's good.
I guess it's a screen share. Yeah.
Okay,
So
perfect.
I'll just
Like you
take
were
that away.
buffering, I was like, I'm getting half of what he's telling me right now. I don't know. I hope he doesn't try to flip
Yeah.
it to me. I'm gonna have no idea what he said.
Yeah, I think that was my end. My
Text it
bad.
to me.
But yeah, so well, I mean, looking at the American League, you know, you have the Yankees and the Orioles fighting it out for the AL East. You have the Royals who are making it interesting with the Guardians for the Central. Kind of looks like the Astros have the West, but the Mariners are barely hanging on as well. And you also have the race between the Guardians and the Yankees and the Orioles for the 1 seed in the American League. And not to mention, the Tigers have found their way 3.5 games behind the Twins and have kind of wedged themselves in between the Red Sox and the Twins, fighting to get into the wild card. So, what do you think? I guess is maybe the most intriguing race of the American League, and kind of like, what do you make of this jumbled up kind of race to the top in it with a lot of these divisions in the American League?
The AL Central has found something. I don't know what it is outside of the White Sox. I mean, look at the Tigers, 9.5 games back of first right now. They're right behind the Twins yet. I mean, it's crazy to think where we were at with the. It's like I say it every week, but where we were at one point with the American League Central, where it was like it doesn't matter who comes out of here, they're going to go play like the Yankees or something. They're going to get rocked, and
Mhm.
then it's done. Like that's the American League Central for you. Now we're talking about the Royals could go and beat one of these, the Yankees or Orioles or Guardians. Like the Royals could beat them. The Twins could beat them. If the Tigers got in there, I mean, what tells you they couldn't at this point? I mean,
Mhm.
they have decent pitching, right? They have decent pitching. The bats seem to be coming alive a little bit there
Yep.
down the stretch. What tells you they couldn't find a way into the playoffs and make some noise? It's just, I mean, the American League Central is definitely the most intriguing portion of that to me. The Astros, that West is just crap. I mean, the Rangers, as if anybody, we didn't mention it yet, but Seager now goes down. The
Yeah.
Rangers are out of it anyways, but Seager goes down. That's a mess. Mariners have been a mess. Their hitting is just atrocious. I don't
Yeah.
understand that. Their pitching's good. The hitting is just terrible. So the Mariners have just been. I mean, the AL West as a whole is just. I mean, the Astros are it. That's about all you get out there. They're like the American League Central from the past. Now we have the American League Central turning into what the AL West was, where we're throwing a lot of teams in. So that's an intriguing portion. I mean, the Red Sox are intriguing. They're right there too. They're not eliminated yet. They're still in the talks. They can still jump into it. They need a lot of things to go right. They need the Tigers to
Yeah.
cool off a little bit. They need, I mean, if the Twins start to lose, they need the Twins to lose a little. There's a lot of things they need to happen, but I mean, it's baseball. We know it can happen, right?
Hmm.
So there's just, I mean, so much undecided yet in the American League. The National League's in that same boat, but it's a little more top heavy. There's a little bit
Yeah.
more of you kind of know where these teams are going to sit. But I mean, looking at the American League, you could see the Royals jump over top of the Guardians. You could see the Orioles work their way up to a 2 seed. We could see two AL East teams battling there in that 1 and 2 seed spot. There's lots of different things that can happen. And plus, I mean, you could be talking about if, say, all right, I was wrong there. AL East. I was completely off there. You can't have 1 and 2 seeds there with the AL East. But I was completely off. I'm looking at league overall right now.
Yeah.
But you could be talking about the Orioles just missing out by like say a half a game of the Yankees there for first place in that division. Yankees get the 1 seed. The Orioles have to go play a wild card game. Like just something as simple as that, where it's like you're right on the cusp of winning your division, but now you have to go play a wild card game. And say you get beat now it's like, well, we were a half game away of getting a bye out of this first
Mhm.
round. It's crazy with the new playoff format. I kind of like the 8-team playoff format, to be honest with you, that COVID year. I kind of like that. I want to put every team in a do or die game, a game like a wild card series to start the playoffs. Like I would love to see that. I don't get why, I get why we do these buys. You want to, award the 1 and 2 seeds. I get that, but
Yeah.
I would love to see the MLB go back to that 8-team playoff format where you're throwing the 1 seed against the 8 seed, the 2 against the 7, all the way down. They're all playing a wild card series to get in. I wasn't opposed to that. I kind of like that. Make your 1 seed earn their way into the playoffs. Like make them earn their way into that divisional round, because as we saw last year with the Diamondbacks, there is so many things that can happen in a wild card round. It's crazy, right? So you put the
Mhm.
Dodgers in a wild card series or the Yankees in a wild card series. I kind of like that format. I'm gonna be honest with you. So I mean, in hindsight, getting off topic there, but the AL as a whole right now is a mess. I can't wait to see how it kind of figures itself out here down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, you do bring up an interesting thing with the COVID year. Like, I know there, like, so many people hated the whole like 1 game do or die playoff that they used as like the wild card round before getting into the regular playoffs. I thought it brought a lot of drama. A lot of baseball fans obviously were used to like 3 game sets, 4 game sets during the regular season. Didn't want like 162 games to come down to a 1 game, and then it seems like you did all that work for nothing. But like I said, it just added something a little different to it. Now, you'll never get to the point where it's like 1 versus 8, doing like a 1 game thing and then moving on to like 3 game series, then 5 or whatever. Because, yeah, if the Yankees were the #1 overall seed and lost in a playoff game to like the Red Sox in a 1-8 matchup and found themselves out, they'd be furious. But kind of to go back to the teams that are in it now, I think you raised a good point about some of these teams in the wild card that could pose a threat to a Yankees or Guardians or whatever as the 2 seeds that could be on a bye. Because yeah, let's say the Orioles are there till the end. Let's say the Yankees win 97 games. Orioles are a 96 win team. That's the #1 wild card spot. If you're the third division winner, the Orioles are not the team you want to see in a wild card round, because that's a team that's going to have a better record than you and are probably a better team, but you may just have the home field advantage. But that's a team that could beat you on the road because they've been so good all year. And just because the Yankees are a game better, they fall into it. So yeah, that's definitely interesting. And like I said, the Twins, Tigers, the Royals, we've seen the Yankees have good regular seasons and flame out in the postseason because they go up against a hot team or a good pitching staff, and one of those teams could do that as well. I mean, they usually run into the Astros, which is their kryptonite, but I think one of these other teams could definitely do it to them, especially with their lineup and what we know about it. Where if you stop Aaron Judge, you have a really good opportunity to quiet the whole lineup. As I do see that the Yankees did just walk it off, but
Perfect.
not yeah. So um, yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Would you be
Uh,
opposed to a
okay.
playoffs where they didn't give it to the division winners to be the top 3 seeds? Where the you win off of overall record. Like we're talking about this, okay, like just
Oh, okay.
hypothetical world here. Hypothetical world. We're talking about an 8-team playoff. But
Hmm.
instead of going your 3 division winners are the automatic 1, 2, and 3. Instead, we go overall record, because I mean, look at the Orioles. Like, and that's what we just talked about before with the AL Central, how they were always, I mean, hot garbage in there. The
Yeah.
Guardians were getting in there with like 80 wins on the season, and then your 4 seed had like 90 some wins. Like it
Yeah.
was, you don't think about it like that. So I
Yeah.
mean, just imagine a playoff scenario where, or a scheme, or whatever you want to call it, a bracket system where it was 8 teams, but you took the 1 seed was your top team, like the Yankees are right now. They'd be my 1 seed. And then you would see the Guardians as a 2. The Orioles would be my
Orioles
3
be
seed because
3.
right now they have the 3rd best record in the American League. And then the 4 seed would be the Royals because they have the 4th best record in the American. It just seems so weird to automatically drop a team that's like, we're talking about the Yankees and Orioles both potentially getting to like 90 some wins, being better than the 3, but yet they're going to get forced to play in that wild card game against, I mean, if you're a 4, you're playing the 5, so the second best wild card team, you're automatically in that game. Should you be in that game? Like it kind of doesn't make sense. Like you were just talking about, you don't want to face the Orioles. Hell no, I don't want to face the Orioles. But why would they be in that situation as the 3rd best team in the American League? I wouldn't be opposed to it. I want to know your opinion on that, but I wouldn't be opposed to an 8-team playoff because it seems like we're both kind of interested in that 8-team playoff do or die first round. Like that's just fun. I mean, you're just playing Russian roulette at that point. That's just fun
Yeah.
stuff. And so you got that 8-team playoff, but then you go top overall. Like you're going 1 through 8, just like you do any bracket system ever. You're going 1 through 8, best teams get in. I mean, your division winners, you could say they're automatically in the playoff field, but if they have the worst record, they're going down to that 8 spot. It's hard to win a division and not have one of the 8 best records in the American League or NL. So you should be in there anyways, but you can just automatically say they're in. If they get an 8 seed, they get an 8 seed. Like that's just how it is. But I would love to see that. I would love to see a scenario where it's the 8 best teams in the American League ranked that way.
That is interesting. So part of me thinks the way baseball is, the way the purest way all that works, I don't think they would ever do 8 teams. The COVID year was an exception. We all know that, because I think when it comes to baseball, if you do 8 teams, baseball fans will fearful of your 8th team being like below 500 and getting in, which they will feel like would be clown mark on the playoffs as a whole. Now, if you wanted to expand the wild card to 7, where now you have 4 wild cards with the 3 divisions, and you basically have the 2 matchups of the wild card happen, and then you bring in the 3 division winners in the round after, which I think even in that scenario, your number 1 overall seed would actually get almost like a double bye at that point. So you'd have your wild card round, your divisional round would bring your 2 and 3 seeds in to face the 2 winners from the 2 wild card matchups. Your 1 seed still sitting there until the following round. I don't know if you're a 1 seed if you want that kind of time off, but it almost makes sense that if you're going to expand, you'd have to go to 8 to make it make more sense.
Everybody gets in. Screw it. Everybody.
I don't know if
Just
baseball,
have a
because
massive playoff bracket. Do or die game 1.
Yeah.
White
if
Sox
you look at this year,
against the Yankees game 1.
Yeah, if you did that, your 7 and 8 teams would be the Tigers and the Red Sox. Like that's not terrible to see them in a playoff field.
Dangerous 7 and 8 seed.
Yeah. So I think it would make it more interesting. I also think the whole, like the Astros not being guaranteed a 3 seed because of their record, I think that makes a lot of sense as well, because you're rewarding the Astros for having. Yes, they played well after the slow start, but you're looking at it as, well, the rest of the division kind of let you off the hook and didn't play well and allowed you to get back into this position. I think it's interesting. I don't think baseball would ever do that. If they do, it's going to be like 20 years from now. They'll actually be like, oh, we're thinking of, reseeding and all this kind of stuff, and be like, you could have done this so long ago and it wouldn't have been that big of a deal.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
Baseball wants the Yankees. Baseball wants the Dodgers. They want to give them the best opportunity they can to get them further into the playoffs, because maybe that's what baseball fans want. I don't want that, to be honest with you. I love the Diamondbacks going to the World Series and just running the table against everybody. Like that was a crazy run that they made. Some people might not like that. I do. So it's one of those things too where baseball won't do it because they want the Yankees, they want the Dodgers. They want the Phillies. They want the Mets. They want the household names to make it to the World Series.
Mhm.
They don't want to give anyone else the upper hand because, like we just said there, I mean, the Tigers and the Red Sox would be your 7 and 8. Well, if the Tigers go and they knock off the Guardians, and so, I mean, I'm not saying the Red Sox couldn't, but the Red Sox knock off the Yankees. Well, now the Yankees and Guardians are both gone. So now you have this
Mhm.
playoff race where it's like, who's left, right? The Orioles are left, but they get knocked off. Well, then you have this playoff race between the Red Sox, Tigers, let's just say the Twins are in there, and the Astros. And it's like, what am I watching right now? This wouldn't be, I like that. I like that scenario where we talk about it all the time. Teams getting hot going into October. That's what you want. That's what you
Good.
want to see. That's what pretty much throwing out there on the table is allowing teams to get hot when it gets into October and giving them that format that's set up for that. That's not set up to help out the big dogs get time off, get rested, get their rotation right. Don't give them that time. Give them a 1-game playoff, do or die. If you're that good, you'll find a way to win it. I mean, look at college basketball. Like, you would think college basketball, if you wanted to give all these big teams a fair shot to get to the
Mhm.
national championship, you would give them more games to play a team. I mean, how many upsets do we see where we're like, if they played 50 times, they would win 49 of them. They just lost this one. Like, it's a
Yeah.
do or die, but how much excitement do we get for college basketball? The pressure that's on those games, the excitement. You got to watch this game. You cannot miss this game. You have to watch this game. Otherwise, you're going to miss it all. Like, it's just that kind of atmosphere that I think that this kind of bracket style brings back to it, because then you're like, as a fan, you're like, I can't miss this game because it's do or die. 1 game. This could be the season on the line right here. I have to be parking it on this couch and watching every second of it. Like, it just brings that kind of atmosphere, pressure, excitement, something that you want to bring. I think it would drive up viewership. I'll be honest with you. I
Yeah.
think it would drive up viewership for those games because you're getting every single one of your big market teams, small market teams, whatever you want to call them. You're getting them all in a do or die game 1. That would drive
Yeah.
viewership through the roof for each game because you want to see what happens in this game because it's going to affect the next game and so on and so forth. Like, it's just one of those. Look at college football, 12-team playoff now. It's for
Mhm.
viewership. They want to drive up viewership. That's what baseball could do with this. Don't make it a 7-game series because you know what? I bet you there's a lot of game 1. You watch game 1. You don't really have to watch game 2 because if your team won in game 1, you're not really that nervous about game 2. You watch game 3. Whatever happens there, you maybe watch game 4. Game 5, 6, and 7, you're watching. Like, it's game 1 and game 5, 6, and 7. That's like seems like the hot commodities. The middle ones you don't watch as much. Get them in a do or die series, game 1. I think it would drive viewership through the roof. I really do. I think it would drive viewership up.
Yeah. I mean, I do have a counter because while you're talking about that, I thought about kind of something where, because you have 6 teams in the playoff now. So what if you open it up where 7 and 8 face each other in like a 3-game set to become the 7th playoff team? So you're opening up to 7 instead of 8. And that means you have to take away, instead of it being the 1 and 2 seed getting the bye in the first round, just your 1 seed. Because the 2 seed has to play the winner of that 7-8 little 3-game set that becomes the new 7 seed. So you'd have 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, and 5. 1 seed is waiting for the following round. So basically, it would look like in the National League, you'd have Phillies on the bye. Dodgers would be waiting to play the winner of Braves Cubs. Braves Cubs play a 3-game set. Winner of that series, you win 2 out of 3, obviously. You're now the new 7 seed. You get the Dodgers, and then it goes Brewers, Mets, Diamondbacks, Padres. And you could actually, I guess, throw in the whole seeding them based off a record, even though the National League, it just works out perfectly that way. And do it that way. That way, you bring 2 more markets, Braves, Cubs, into the playoff picture.
Yeah.
And look, that 3-game series would capture every baseball player, every baseball fan on the planet would be looking at that like, who comes out of this to face the Dodgers? And those are 2 storied clubs in this one, with the Braves and the Cubs. 2 rabid fan bases that would be locked in for that. You would make more money. You'd have more viewership. I think that would be probably the best way. I mean, the whole reseeding stuff would probably work better in the American League. So you'd have, like you said, the Guardians would be your bye team. Yankees as the 2 seed would be waiting to see who wins between Tigers and Red Sox to face them in the first round. Then your Orioles as a 3 seed would face the Twins, and you'd have Royals, Astros. I mean, that's something that they could try. Like at least try it for a couple of years, see how fans support it. Because I'm like you, the more teams you give an opportunity to, I think the better for your sport. Now, obviously, with baseball, you don't want to start going crazy where now you have like the Blue Jays at 69 and 78 thinking that they're a playoff team. Like, yeah, that'd be way too far to go.
Everybody gets in.
Right, White Sox fans are sitting there.
White Sox
team loses
against
125 games, and they're like, "Oh, we got the playoffs though."
Well, can you imagine though? You have Garrett Crochet going up against the Yankees in Game 1, and somehow the White Sox beat the Yankees out of the playoffs in the first game of this, like, massive playoff bracket. The Yankees are gone. Like, we're just talking about a playoff scenario where the White Sox win a game. I mean, they're going to get the crap beat out of them Game 2 if they find a way to win Game 1. But, like, they find a way to beat the Yankees. Like, I don't know. I love the scenarios where you bring more teams in because, like you said, it adds more excitement. It brings everything to the forefront, brings fan bases in. I think it makes it more exciting. I'll be honest with you. Everybody has to play their way in. I would love to see a playoff where everybody has to play their way in some way, shape, or form. You say regular season plays their way in. I get that. But, like, I want to see them play their way into a playoff series, like into the divisional round. I don't like free passes. I mean, I love them when my team gets a free pass, right? But I would love to see teams playing their way to get into that divisional round. I just think that'd be something good for baseball. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely interesting. Because like you said, I'm not necessarily a fan. Like the whole 1 and 2 season baseball getting kind of the free pass in the first round, I think that's a bit much. I think the number 1 seed, if you want to give it to them, to reward them for their season that they had and being the best team in those leagues, I feel like that's okay. But 2 through 6, 7, 8 in my random scenario, yeah, make them play the opening round, see who shakes out of that. Then you throw the 1 seed back into it, and you kind of go from there. It could create some interesting matchups. It could create some interesting storylines. Because, like I said, Yankees are a 2 seed. They're watching a Tigers Red Sox 3-game set to see who they're going to face. They may be sitting there like, I mean, we're already playing the division with the Red Sox. Like, do we really want the Red Sox coming here for a series? And then you get the Tigers. You're like, they have Skubal and guys like that in that rotation. Like, that could be tough as well. Yeah, I feel like that's interesting. I will see because I think baseball has, I don't know, it invigorated their game a little bit with the, pitch clock and all the running on the bases and everything like that. Which, once again, back to the Shohei thing, like the 50 stolen bases, you got the bigger bases and everything like that could be a product of it. I feel like they need to do a little bit more to help the game out because they went through so many years where they, sat on their hands, didn't really grow the game much, but they still have a lot of ground to make, I think. And like I said, shaking up the playoff structure might be the next step to bring in more interest into the game.
No, I agree. I mean, you're in a tough time of year with football and everything else starting. You got to try something. You got to try something to try to bring fans more interest. I mean, there's still interest. Everybody's going to be watching. If your team's in the playoffs, you're going to be watching. But to bring that extra interest into the playoff series, I think that definitely some scenarios there that would definitely bring it
in. Yeah. I mean, look, baseball's got a weekend series of Red Sox Yankees. Yankees fighting for 1 seed in the American League. Red Sox trying to hold on to their playoff lives. They went up against Thursday Night Football tonight. I would probably bet Thursday Night Football beats them in ratings. Saturday, you're dealing with college football. So We'll see there. But then I'm assuming they probably have Sunday night Yankees, Red Sox. You're going up against Sunday Night Football. I don't know if you win that battle. So
Yep.
baseball's got to figure it out. But I mean, look, I feel like that's interesting conversation there. I mean, is there anything you wanted to, I guess, talk about before we get out of here? You know, a little bit over
We
an
got
hour
to a
here.
lot today. We got to a lot. That's about all I got.
Yeah, I mean, we gave you an action-packed hour and we'll say about 10 minutes or so. Um, yeah, so like I see, the Bills are still destroying the Dolphins, and
Oh,
like I said,
fun.
Yankees beat the Red Sox. I mean, since I did take down the little score thing, I will just let you guys know. Like I said, Yankees walk off against the Red Sox. The Rangers are beating the Mariners right now, 1-0. Your Brewers are scoreless with the Giants in the fourth.
Yeah, they
Everything
suck.
else is final. Everything
Offense
else is
sucks.
final. Colorado beat Detroit tonight. So Detroit lost an opportunity to maybe gain on somebody. St. Louis beat the Reds 6-1. Houston beat Oakland 6-3. The Marlins beat the Nationals 6-3. And the Tampa Bay Rays knocked off the Guardians 5-2.
Rays are fighting for a playoff spot.
Look, you know it's never going to be easy with the Rays, even if they're 3 games below 500. Like they're going to make it tough on these teams the last couple of weeks. That's also a fun part of the end of the season. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Rays fans, the ones that they do have, maybe have checked out on the season anyway, but it's kind of fun playing spoiler this time of the year.
Yep.
Like I said, Colorado knocked off Detroit. If Detroit falls a little short, this could be a night that they look back on and say, we missed an opportunity. Yeah, like I said, we got to a lot. We'll probably call it at this point. Yeah, we'll see how your Brewers do come next week. We'll obviously check back in on the playoff races as we'll be even closer to October. We'll see if there's been some more separation in these wild card races or at the top. Maybe the Braves by next week have recaptured their spot in the NL wild card, and we'll be talking about the Mets being on the outside looking in. Who knows? We'll see where Shohei Ohtani is with his 50-50 race. We'll see about Aaron Judge, who I believe once again went homerless tonight. So, yeah, a lot of things going on in baseball. Make sure you come back here next week to check us out. But I will say, I guess a little bit of a announcement about the show. I feel like we're going to probably rebrand it a little bit, probably get away from strictly baseball because, look, you guys have tuned in and know that we usually talk baseball for a little bit and then our conversations just go all over the place. So we'll probably come back and be more of like all encompassing. We'll talk football in here. We'll definitely still talk baseball, obviously, because we are baseball fans, but working some football, college football and all that. Get into the NBA season, we'll probably work that in as well. So probably look out for a new name and everything, but the same, banter and the same guys on here next week. Because like I said, Aaron couldn't be on tonight. Work got in the way. Hopefully he's back on next week. But yeah, so make sure you come back next Thursday, 9:15-ish, for another edition with myself, Trajan, Wisconsin Sports on the Go. Make sure you check them out. Right here on Integrity Sports Network. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know what you need to do. So enjoy the rest of your night. Go watch the rest of the football game. We'll see you next week. All right. Bye.